heard this term, a bomb cyclone? Well, there's also a media bomb cyclone. We may be watching one today, but just over a week ago, that media bomb cyclone hit the coast of Florida. And the irony of this story is mind-blowing, and the power of it. Take a look at this.
A new recommendation from the Florida Surgeon General.
The Florida Department of Health has announced new guidance regarding mRNA COVID-19 vaccines.
Florida Surgeon General is recommending that some men not get the mRNA COVID vaccine.
Dr. Joseph Ladapo took to Twitter saying new analysis, quote, showed an increased risk of cardiac-related death amongst men 18 through 39.
Their analysis found there's an 84% increase in relative incidence of cardiac-related deaths within 28 days following getting the mRNA vaccine.
The tweet was reportedly taken down on Saturday for violating Twitter's policies and then restored later that morning.
Twitter also suspended Dr. Ladapo's account. There was an outcry, and Twitter later reversed the decision.
Holding back information like this from people has a very what are you hiding kind of quality to it.
Twitter isn't the only one weighing in on this guidance from Florida Surgeon General. The Food and Drug Administration is also criticizing the data.
Ladapo says that many are hoping that the vaccine-related cardiac adverse events will just go away.
This isn't going away. This is real.
I mean, how about this for a juxtaposition? You know, just days before our own CDC mandates the COVID-19 vaccine, or at least puts it in line to be mandated across the country as a part of the school schedule, the Surgeon General in Florida does a study and comes out with Ron DeSantis behind him, the governor, saying we are not recommending this vaccine for young males, especially. It is no longer even recommended. And in many ways, we are warning against it. I mean, what an incredible time we're in. You could not have more differing perspectives. And so he is the author of Transcend Fear, this amazing book Dr. Joseph Ladapo just wrote, and I had a great interview with him recently about it, but he's also the author of this incredible guidance coming out of Florida. I had an opportunity earlier to speak with him prior to us knowing that the CDC was going to mandate this COVID vaccine. This is an interview that should not be forgotten. Watch this. Dr. Ladapo, thank you for taking the time today.
Hey, thanks, Dale. Anytime.
You know, we're so used to, and even I am so used to there being this very careful approach to the discussion about, you know, potential vaccine injury, that I think this is one of the first times in media history as I know it, where a sitting Surgeon General or really any politician authority has made a definitive statement coming out to the public saying, we believe there is a risk here. Let me just go ahead and give this guidance, and we'll get into it. This is what was put out in Florida by you, Dr. Joseph Ladapo, Surgeon General of Florida. Exploring the relationship between all-cause and cardiac-related mortality following COVID-19 vaccination or infection in Florida residents, a self-controlled case series study. This is what the discussion and conclusion was in this statewide study of vaccinated Florida residents aged 18 years or older. COVID vaccination was not associated with an elevated risk for all-cause mortality. COVID-19 vaccination was associated with a modestly increased risk for cardiac-related mortality 28 days following vaccination. Results from the stratified analysis for cardiac-related death following vaccination suggest mRNA vaccination may be driving the increased risk in males, especially among males aged 18 to 39. Risk for both all-cause and cardiac-related deaths was substantially higher 28 days following COVID-19 infection. The risk associated with mRNA vaccination should be weighed against the risk associated with COVID-19 infection. And then really the guidance that went out to Florida looks something like this. Guidance for mRNA COVID-19 vaccines, very specifically, it says the state Surgeon General now recommends against the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines for males ages 18 to 39 years old. Individuals and healthcare providers should also be aware that this analysis found males over the age of 60 had a 10% increased risk of cardiac-related death within 28 days of mRNA vaccination. Non-mRNA vaccines were not found to have these increased risks among any population. Those are huge statements. A really somewhat scary study when we think about how many young men have received this vaccination. So let's start with, why did you decide to do this analysis, to do this study of the individuals in Florida?
Del, we decided to do the study, and I did direct the Department of Health to do the study because, as you know, and as many people have recognized, there's literally this unending propaganda campaign pushing these vaccines on every living being on this planet and ignoring any message or any signal that says otherwise. It is just such a indescribably corrupt environment in terms of morality, in terms of benevolence, and actually in terms of public health, and actually caring about the outcomes that people experience and improving their health. Mm-hmm. And that's why we did this study, because in that kind of environment, there's so much suspicion that it creates because of the fact that there's so much dishonesty, that being able to ask questions that should have already been asked is something that is the least of what we could do and what we should be doing. And it really is a shame that no one else has done it, but you can count on the Florida Department of Health to continue making honest assessments.